home is one of the most important decisions you'll make in your entire life.
Call the Holly Ritchie team today for a free market analysis.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Spanning the Need with Anthony Spano, Stories for Your Lifestyle. I'm here with Keith and Michelle from the Edenfield Foundation. How are we guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Good, thank you.
And to be honest, I think I said your last name wrong, but it is what
Everybody
it is.
does.
That's okay.
Edenfield Foundation. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we talk a little bit about foundations in general in the community, and we're going to talk about what you guys do. And you guys do a great, tremendous job in the community, and you do well for families in need as well. And we'll get a little bit into that. Just for everyone's reference, this is season 4, and they're leading it off. Keith, Michelle, tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and then how you kind of got into this.
Sure. Well, I'll start with mine. I mean, this is my 17th year in public education. I'm currently the principal at Lisbon David Anderson Junior Senior High School. Born and raised in the area. I graduated from Austintown Fitch. My family, we live in Canfield now, and went to YSU. And that's a little bit about me. Just kind of always been around the valley, and like I said, through coaching and teaching, and now being a school administrator, I've always worked with the youth in the area.
And I'm Michelle Edenfield. I am a mental health counselor. I've done that for the last 20 years. I'm currently in private practice, and I own my own business. It's never been a job. It's what I love. And then our Melina is what got us here to starting the Melina Michelle Edenfield Foundation.
Tell us kind of how it all got started. Tell us Melina's story and kind of how this all progressed, because I think you always want to hear what's behind what really makes everything happen, as everyone has a story. Tell us a little bit about that story and how it kind of really evolved into the foundation.
Well, we have 3 beautiful baby girls. And our youngest daughter passed away at the age of 4. She was diagnosed with a pediatric brain tumor. And Melina, and I say this often when we talk about our story, is that, Melina was not sick. She had never even had a sick visit. She had never been on an antibiotic, at most maybe a mild cold in her life. And during COVID, it was shortly after the world shut down. So in May, she started complaining of a headache and had flu-like symptoms. As it continued to progress for a couple of days, we finally took her to the ER just because she woke up that morning and seemed much worse. And the symptoms weren't alleviating. And I think, honestly, the reason I took her is it was is this COVID? Nobody knew what was going on. And from there is when we learned that there was a mass on her brain. It took about 10 days from that point to find out that it was highly aggressive. And it was a mass that was in her brain stem. And then from the progression of the disease itself is supposed to be the median is about 6 to 12 months of life. We had 32 days with our Melina from the
original day that we went to the ER, not even from that diagnosis of what the type of tumor it actually was. From the diagnosis of the type of tumor she had to when she passed was only 19 days. So it happened quick.
Yeah, I can only imagine what you guys had to go through. What was she like?
She was amazing. And she was definitely a spitfire. She was a strawberry blonde. She definitely ruled our world. And think it was because she was number 3 and we were tired because they're 22 months on both ends. So, we had 3 within 5 years. And so she really directed our show. She was extremely competitive and she was just fun. Melina woke up every day and had her plan. Well, here's what we're going to do today, right? And here's what we're going to, here's where we're going to be, and here's where we're going to go, and we're going to Target, right, Mommy? And so we would, every Friday was her and I, because she was not in preschool on that day. And so we did our errands, and she kept track of everything we needed and everything we were going to do. And so we went to, she would always say on the way, oh, we have to stop at Starbucks. And if the line was too long, she'd say, oh, I'll settle for a donut today. Let's just go to Dunkin'. Like, that's just.
Yeah, I mean, just to give an idea, I mean, she was riding a bike without training wheels at 3. And not to keep coming back to, her final days, but she would do everything she could until she couldn't. And I mean, she lived her whole life like that. But, I mean, when she came home from the hospital, she would, she played t-ball, so she would hit a ball into the net until she couldn't do that. And then when she couldn't do that, she'd, pedal a big wheel. And when she couldn't do that, she'd ask us to push her or swim, right up until she wasn't able to communicate anymore. I mean, and like I said, not to keep coming back to the end, but that was how she lived her entire life.
Well, I think we want to understand her story. We want to understand how bundle of joy she was. And I think that, like, I just had my own daughter 7 months ago, and I can only imagine what you guys went through. As you like to say, Michelle, a Spitfire.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, who does she resemble, Keith or you?
Oh, totally, Keith. No.
She did. She looked like me. She had her personality. She had her personality, but she looked a lot like me.
To understand Melina, like, she used to get out of the car and she would go, "Oh, I won," and I'm like, "You won what?" And she's like, "Well, I got out first." I'm like, "I didn't know we were racing." And then, like, in the hospital, Anthony, you said it best when you started this and said everybody has their story. As a mental health practitioner, I've always said that. Everybody has their story, and we decide the parts of our stories that define us. And Melina had a brain tumor for 32 days of her life, but she was so much more than that. So much more. And I think she was wise beyond her years looking back now. But we tried very much so to be very positive around her. I mean, what people don't understand about her tumor is it was in her brain stem. So it took away her physical abilities, but it never affected her cognitively. So Melina was very aware of what was happening to her, which I can't even begin to process. And so we really tried to just, be positive and be light until we kind of knew what was going on, because it was just, every day was changing. She was just declining. And that really isn't, the path is that, but it's just not that fast. And so her and I were in the hospital, and the neurosurgeon walked in and said, "Melina, what do you need?" And I lost it. Like, tears were streaming, and I was just quiet over there. And Melina looks at me, and she looked at the neurosurgeon, and she's like, "I need my mommy to get it together." And the neurosurgeon looked at me, and I looked at her, and I'm like, "Really?" And Melina looks up, she goes, "'Cause she's just a big crybaby." And but that was a gift, because now when I have those moments, because you have them all the time, every day, I have that moment where something will just trigger, and all I think is, "Oh my God, I'm just a big crybaby." Like, and it's her.
It's like one of those things, like, remember back in the day, they had the kids say the darndest things.
Yes.
People out there, if you're a millennial or a different young professional, you may know of the kids say the darndest things. That was something that reminded me when you say she's just a big crybaby, or get it together. Like, that just kids will say the darndest things, no matter if they're 3, 4, or 5 years old, because they don't know better.
No. And Melina was always Melina. The very first night at the hospital, they did a surgery. So we went from Boardman, Akron to Akron, Maine, and they had to put a temporary shunt in. That's what was causing the throwing up, was the pressure in her brain.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that. By the time the transport happened, it was pouring down rain. This is the middle of COVID. So by the time all that happened, the neurosurgeon came in and said, listen, we're going to stop the emergency, but I'm not doing brain surgery without my staff. And so she said, we're going to put the temporary shunt in, and then, Saturday morning, we'll put the regular shunt in. So we're in the room, and the neurosurgeon had finished the surgery. Everything was done. And we just had the worst moment of our life of finding out what was really going on. And the neurosurgeon looks at Melina and said, honey, I'm going to leave for the night. What do you need? And Melina looked at her and said, well, a Frappuccino, a breakfast sandwich, and a cake pop. And the neurosurgeon looked at her and looked at me and said, does she think I'm a barista? And I'm like, oh no, she knows who you are. That's just what she needs. And so the neurosurgeon said, honey, I promise you can eat tomorrow. We can't eat now. So after her surgery the next morning at 3:00 in the afternoon, they came back to check on her. And when they walked in, the neurosurgeon said, honey, what do you need? And she said, a Frappuccino, a breakfast sandwich, and a cake pop. And the neurosurgeon turned around and goes, I don't care who's leaving the hospital, but somebody's getting this kid Starbucks.
I see, and I can relate the great stories of what she was able to accomplish in such a short time.
Yes.
And I can see it in your eyes, and Keith, just by looking, that when you talk about her, you just you get very what's the word? Like, you just happy, because you just these great stories that you have, no matter how short it was, you have these stories to reflect. It's an unfortunate situation, but you have great memories that she seemed like she was more advanced than a normal 3-year-old.
Oh yeah. No, yes. Some days you look back and you're like, those were the gifts, and she left us with gifts.
Yeah. It's like the notion of things just happen, unfortunate. Mm-hmm. And I look at that, these are just great memories that you guys have, as anyone has with their kids, just with a different stage in it. And I think that's what relates well when you relate the foundation to what you guys have gone through. And so we look at her with as short as it was, she looked like she had a tremendous, just a time. And she the comments that she reminds me of, it comes back to either Dawn Wrinkle or Robin Williams when they did those roasts, those very simple types of roasts with just the funny comebacks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we look at that. And so tell me how that turned into about the foundation. How did that come about?
So the foundation, so Melina, when we made the decision for her to go to hospice, she actually did hospice. We have an interesting setup where we live right next door to my in-laws, her parents.
I love how he labels that as interesting.
And well, it's unique. But,
let me note that.
But Melina, we did hospice here in the home again in the midst of COVID. I mean, we're right. This is June of 2020. It's there were more questions than answers regarding COVID at that point. So with hospice, we didn't want family limited to be around her. We wanted her to have all the people she loved to be able to be with her. So we did hospice in her parents' house, Melina's grandparents, and my father-in-law and I were sitting on the front porch, getting some air, taking a break the one day when she was home. And we both kind of simultaneously looked at each other and said that we had thoughts of creating a foundation, because we just didn't want it. It was as simple as we didn't want her to pass and that was it. Like, we just thought there should be more to her story. So we both thought, yeah, this is something that we could probably do. And so we came in, but we said, this will never get off the ground if her mom doesn't want this. So we said,
not that Melina and I are anything alike.
And that was number one.
As we referred to earlier.
Yes. And number two, it was okay, but even if we do this, what do we want? What do we want to do with the foundation? What's the purpose going to be? Because when we were in Akron, Maine, and we got into oncology and everything else, there was a foundation in the Canton area that helped patients and things like that. So it's like, what are we going to do? And so we talked to Michelle, and we said we want to do this, and she said, "Go, you want to tell them what?"
Well,
there's one thing you wanted,
and it was wonderful, but what with helping families and that type of support was amazing. And what we learned though in our process is I didn't even get to utilize the things they gave us because I had 32 days. And what I learned is there was no answers. In 2020, I had doctors look at me and say, "I'm sorry, Michelle, there's nothing." And it's like, well, what do you mean there's nothing? And, we then later found out as time progressed, Neil Armstrong's daughter had the same exact tumor as my Melina. He walked on the moon, and 54 years later, the ballpoint pen has evolved in 54 years. And this cancer research hasn't. And then the more you looked into it for pediatrics, which again, when you're in the middle of this storm, you just assume there's something. Like, I break a bone, I assume there's an answer. And we learned there's just not the funding, that children get 4% of national funding. 96% goes to adults, which is great, but they get nothing. And so the only way they get funding is from private funders. And I said, I need to give another mother an answer. I need to not have a mother sit in that chair and know they are completely out of control and can do nothing. And I couldn't even give Melina a fighting hope, and so that's when they said, "What do you need?" And I said, we needed answers. And then Keith went and told Melina. So
I went and told Melina, and at that point, she could only communicate through squeezing. Again, cognitively, she knew what was going on. She could still hear, but at that point, she couldn't talk. And but I said to her, I said, Melina, do you want us to do something to help other kids? And that was one of the hardest yes squeezes we had that entire week. And so, one thing that I'm most proud of from a foundation standpoint is, she passed June 24th, 2020. But our articles of incorporation, whatever founding, was June 23rd. She fully knew what was going on and supported the foundation in her own way as much as she could at that point.
I think you bring up a great point, and as a person who's kind of started a foundation myself, I think what people don't realize is the percentage that you just gave. 96% of all cancer research, or all research in general, is driven for adults, and only 4% for children. And if anyone wants to know, under 18 is considered a child.
Yes.
Depending on research. Some researchers are under 13, under 14, but child is 18 and under, or 17 if you really want to kind of be technical about it. But I think that's a great point to hit on, is there's not the research out for child cancer, child disease in that regards.
No, and you run into even more stipulations because the guidelines on research is based on adults. Well, the problem is they won't let you experiment on a child. So to run these clinical trials are even harder because you have to start on adults, because they won't let you start on the child, which I understand. I understand how in certain realms that makes a lot of sense, but to a child who doesn't even have a fighting chance, a parent should have some input somewhere. So you run into a lot of obstacles when it comes down to kids. And the other thing too, and I'm sure that you've learned this with your foundation, is to remain nonprofit, you don't have to give a lot.
No, you just build it up so you're able to provide the necessary resources that you can to
Right.
sustain.
Right. And so, and even to remain nonprofit, I can't remember, I mean, our first year, but if we had raised $100,000, we raised more than that. But if we had raised 100,000, I think we only had to give like $5,000 or $10,000 to still remain a nonprofit.
Yeah, there's stipulations on that that you have to delegate yes or no on whatever that looks like. But I think you also bring up a great point, is that we can try all we want to do what's best. Like,
right.
I think, and you brought up a great point, is they don't want you testing or pilot programs for kids. But now I think that's changed in the last 5 years because of vaccines with COVID, because now they're testing 5 to 13, 6 months to 5-year-olds. So I think over the last 5 years, there's been a change, but not enough. And I think the door is starting to open, but not enough yet.
Yes. And like with us now, our foundation is involved with a collaborative, and part of that is international. And there is a lot of research done in Australia for pediatric brain tumors. One of the head researchers over there was a blood cancer specialist, and his 2-year-old was diagnosed with a DIPG, and he switched his whole life to dedicate it to this now too. So not only is he in it as a parent, he's in it as a scientist.
And usually those, and when you got a person like that knows what he's doing, he's been affected, as well as his professional, he knows what he's doing in all frames of mind and walks of life. That's the best person in a business to really look at, because he knows on both ends of what you're looking at. So when you explain something to him, he knows exactly what you're talking about and can turn it into a scientific, whatever he would be doing, his research.
Sure. Yes.
You talk about international partnerships and stuff like that. What other work, or what have you guys done since you guys have initiated the foundation over the last couple of years?
Well, you can talk about the local partner.
Yeah. So to date, we've raised over $450,000. So that's in a little over 18 months.
Which is all because of this community.
Yeah, and that's strictly from the generosity of the community.
It's amazing.
And people willing to listen to the story and support the cause. And so we will always be, as much as we were shocked to learn her diagnosis in May of 2020, we can sit here in February of 2022 in equal amazement of everybody's generosity. But with that money, what we've done is we have donated over $200,000 to Akron Children's Hospital, so that way they can build their infrastructure and do more testing on site, do more brain tumor research on site.
Well, we donated it and created a fund there, so that money is utilized for brain tumor research. And then from there, we really felt that in order to grow, we keep saying we have to stand up for what we're saying. So we got involved with an international collaborative, and there is different tiers of it, and we are a foundational partner. And so we get a voting privilege, and we then we put all our money together, and then we now fund big clinical trials. And then we meet every year as a group, the foundational partners, and then every 2 years we meet with everybody, including the researchers that we gave the money to, and they have to come back and say what worked, what didn't work, where the money went. They underfund. So if you were to come and ask us for $450,000 and we give you all that, and then it turns out you didn't need 20,000 of it, that goes straight as overhead to hospitals. So we underfund every trial, and then you come back and say what you need more of. That way we make sure every penny is truly spent where it needs to be. And then this year we joined something called Connect.
So the Connect Consortium is, there's only 8 of us worldwide, and it's 17 facilities worldwide, 13 are in North America. And that is basically, to make a long story short and put it in layman's terms as we can, is that's almost creating a virtual hospital. So any of those 17 facilities worldwide, if let's just use Akron, for example. Akron's not currently a facility. We hope one day it could be. But let's say Akron's one of those facilities, and there was a successful trial going on in Montreal. Montreal is one of the facilities. We wouldn't have to take Melina to Montreal. Montreal would just funnel all of their research protocols, everything to Akron, and she would be part of that trial, but it would be physically done in Akron versus having her to go somewhere else. And so it's basically creating a virtual hospital for the facilities that agree to be part of that. And where a lot of that funding comes from, it's not only the 8 partners, which, like I said, we're one of the 8, but we're also trying to get the pharmaceutical companies into that also, so they can fund their own research with their therapeutics.
I love that, because I think one thing that I hear a lot of, at least over the years, was 70% of the services, maybe I'm off by number, you actually have to go to a hospital in a 3, 4, 5, 6 hour, like people have gone to the Cincinnati Children's Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Some have gone all the way down to St. Jude. So that's a phenomenal thing, because of the I think now, because technology is progressing, hopefully we'll see a lot more of that, because a lot of people can't afford to go.
No.
All these, I mean, I had one family, a gentleman I knew, they went down to Cincinnati. So probably what, a 4 or 5 hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had to go every other week. I mean, that transportation, overnight, time off. So I that's a great thing.
Well, and it forces institutions to work together. The only way we're going to get anywhere with any of this is a collaborative. And, we learned a lot of this from the Cure Starts Now. They're a very large foundation that started in Cincinnati. And we've worked with them, but they are more than willing to work side by side with people. It's not about whose name is where. It's about how do we get this done, and how do we get it done fast.
And I think that's one thing it's just been over the years. Everyone has their territory.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that's growing. The more partnerships now, I'm starting to see it locally and nationally. Because I think, like, I'll use this area, the Mahoning Valley. Well, you're not probably another 10 years. You're not going to have the big donors that you may normally have, the Stambas or the big ones that are you're going to see that kind of go down because of demographics and not enough. Everyone's going for the same buck.
Yeah. And I think too, like, what really helped with us allowing to be the foundation we are is we have a voice all the time of where our money goes, and we can support the national end of things where the big change is going to come. And our goal is to bring the local hospital along with us, and Akron's all in with us. Their neuro-oncology program and I talk often, and Erin Wright is the head of that, and she's a fabulous human being and Melina's doctor. And we have a lot of the same values and beliefs. And I mean, they're all in, and they're looking to grow. She's young and she's motivated. And I think we all want the same things for not only our community, but just overall too. So this enabled us to be able to always remain with our local community, because that's who our support is from. But then also be able to truly make an impact with that.
And it's good to see that a small foundation like yours is making a huge impact, not just here in the community, but kind of on a national and international stage in some facet.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that. It's good to see things like that from just people that just want to do good and really work with everyone in general to make that happen.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I went to Austin, Texas this year with the partners and everybody, the doctors, everybody was there. And there were moments where just the 17 partners at the time met. And the motivation in that room, because we're all parents that were affected, and the majority. And there's a whole lot of fire there to make a whole lot of change. And while we may not understand every word the doctors say, because I assure you we don't, but that's not our job. Our job is to hold them accountable, and then the medical team explains it to us.
Like an interpreter for medical.
Yeah. Like the first day, I'm like, am I supposed to know what this says? Because I don't get this.
Give me the Cliff Note version.
Yeah. I'm good. I'll just drink my coffee. You guys look great up there. You look good.
we talk about the things that you guys are doing great, and we look at everything that you're carrying on her memory. Mm-hmm. You're doing so good in the community. You kind of now have created this event called an Evening of Joy that people can come out to, can enjoy their night. How did this vault event start? And kind of talk a little bit about the event in general. I see smiles. I'm wondering where this may go.
Well, I'm going to preface it by saying, and then I'll let her explain. Everything that we do foundation-wise, from an Evening of Joy to the Choose Joy event to just different things, even the shirts, we say Melina guides us. We say that Melina has a say. One thing that Michelle made her promise was to always give signs, always let us know you're okay. And I was never personally a big believer in that until now. I see it. I mean, I see it as like, that's Melina. I mean, that's, but so I say everything, we say everything with the foundation, she guides us, and the Evening of Joy is her coming out party. So go ahead. I'll let you go ahead and take it from there.
Her coming out.
Everything Melina did, you have to understand, was truly over the top. Like, even from her hair in the morning when she woke up, like everything was just.
She was a 3-year-old.
Oh, you have to see her hair. It was bad. It was bad. So her 4-year-old birthday party, and I'm not kidding, I always said, honey, let's go. You pick whatever you want. And she said, Mommy, I want Fancy Nancy. And I said, we can do Fancy Nancy. And then she said, but with Cheeto print. And that would be leopard print that Melina loved more than life. I have no idea where it came from. I would love to say that I loved it, but I did not. Now it's all I wear. And Melina would always tell you, oh, it's never enough, Mommy. And so we ended up at Party On picking out balloons. And she picked the most god-awful brown Cheeto print balloons. And she didn't want like pink Cheeto plates, rainbow Cheeto plates. No, it was leopard print. And napkins. I mean, it looked like a bad bachelorette. The only thing she did was she had one flag of Fancy Nancy. That's it. Everything else, leopard print. I mean, to the point where her guests showed up, including her babysitter for when I worked, who is in our family, in her late 60s. She's in her Cheeto print. Like, I mean, it was awful. And I remember going to pick up the balloons, and the woman that worked there said, are these for her birthday? And I was like, yes, they are. And she was like, is it bad that I want to come? And I'm like, no, I'd want to see it too. So
she seems like she had a great sense of humor.
She did. And so we always, with Melina, with our foundation, we have a foundation, our purpose. It's obviously I will spend my life fighting for a cure for pediatric cancer. But Melina had her story. And right now her sisters get to continue writing their story. And we get to write the rest of Melina's. And Melina chose joy every day of her life up until the minute she wasn't here. And I can attest to every step of the way that is what she did. And so I always say, if my 4-year-old who knew that she was dying could wake up every day and choose joy, then so can I. And so that is where the joy comes from. And that is a message greater than anything our foundation could ever do, is the fact that, I cannot control circumstances. I cannot stop bad things from happening, but I can only choose how I'm going to react to it. So when we were planning our events for this year, we always hold an event now on the green. That is the one that will steal my heart for life. It's her Melina's Joy Team. It's her 10 little best friends, and they created this event of joy for kids and families. And we had a 5K. We did a golf outing last year, and I said, we don't have a party, and Melina really needs a party. And the idea hit me, and so I said, I really think we need to do this. And we were like, what is this going to look like? And I was like, well, elegance and classy, and then a streak of trash right down the center of it, because that's Melina.
I wish I had that on a quote. That's a great quote. Just,
yes.
It reminds me of just the fun yes. that you have, that you reminisce, but at the same time you can enjoy long life with that type of memories and just the whole just the thought process of it.
Well, she wouldn't let me be a crybaby, so we had to find her joy. And I
ain't saying anything on that part. That's all you.
But
so,
that's what
so talk a little bit about that event. Where we having it? What's going on during that event, and kind of what we're looking at?
Yeah, sure. So that event, it's on March 19th, Saturday, March 19th. It is at the embassy. That event is going to, doors open at 5:30. Buffet dinner served from 6 to 8. At 8 o'clock, it'll be live auction. We have Ovation playing live throughout the night, and we want to have all talking live auction done by 9 o'clock. So from 9 to 11, people can just dance and party to the sounds of Ovation. In addition to the live auction, there's also a basket raffle. We have approximately 25 baskets to raffle off that night, none of which have a value under $200, I believe. We also have silent auction items. The nice thing is all tickets can be purchased in advance, obviously, but they're purchased online. And if you purchase your ticket by March 4th, or let's put it this way, as you purchase your ticket starting on March 4th, you can start bidding on the silent auction items. And that March 4th date is significant because, and I think it's also ironic that we are opening season 4 for you.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Because we always say more than 4.
We fight for
more than 4. We fight for pediatric cancer to get more than 4% of the national funding for cancer research.
How odd.
So, yeah. So it was meant to be.
Thanks, Melina. I see ya.
Things happen for a reason. You look at it that way, and it's like, oh, season 4, 4%, and you start looking like, oh wow,
that's crazy.
It is. So, but March 4th. Also, I should say that the event is capped at 400 people. Again, because of 4. The common theme here. But
sure
we want that to resonate.
800 divided by 2.
Yeah. So.
And we have less than 100 tickets left.
That's great.
It's unreal.
How much are tickets?
$125 a person.
Okay.
So then $250 a couple, and then we're selling tables of 8 and tables of 10. Okay. And then that includes the the whole meal. It's an open bar. The band.
Open bar.
I know. Giano's Candy is donating an entire chocolate table. There'll be some other desserts. And then I worked with, because I swear, I just have these moments, and then it's stuck in my head where I'm like, well, they can't leave without our favorite ice cream. And everybody's like, what? And I'm like, when people leave at the end of the night, we have to give them Melina's favorite ice cream because that's what she would do. So the Smith family that owns 5 of the local Dairy Queens worked with me, and we're going to do small twist cones in a cup with rainbow sprinkles. And so, because you can't leave without Melina. So,
well, you have a great night that's scheduled. You have a great night that's scheduled. You seem like you got a lot, especially how can you pass up an open bar? There's going to be Ubers waiting outside.
yeah.
We look at events in general, and what is so special about your event? We know there's all these events. You know what I mean? What makes your event so special?
Her. But I think that's what it is. Like, people came to the green last year for our Choose Joy event, and they said, Michelle, how are you going to do this? Are you going to sell tickets? Are you going to? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to sell anything. We had large basket raffles, so you could buy raffle tickets. But I said, no, it's all donation based. I just want people to come. I want them to know Melina, and I just want people to have fun. You know, we've lived through a different set of the past 2 years than other people. But, you know, we haven't had an opportunity in a long time to just have fun. And I want people to be able to have fun, to feel like you're making an impact, because you are. I don't even care if you just come eat my ice cream. Like, that's okay. Like, just come and have fun and just learn and share about our Melina. And then if you want to jump up on stage, I'm sure they'll let you. I mean, join in. That's what
will Keith be on stage?
You don't want that.
Yeah.
I said in that evening of joy.
Oh, okay.
I can't carry a tune. I can't carry a tune.
Hey, with that open bar, you may be able to.
A lot of things might happen that night.
But I don't think we want that.
We don't want that. We'll
raffle them off. Maybe somebody else can take them home for the week. You win Keith for a week.
Silent auction prize.
There you go. Auction Keith off.
Yeah, we win a principal. Who wants to win a principal?
Hey, look at it this way. Buy it. You call it Buy a Keith. Okay. Whoever the highest bidder is, he will do something for a 4-hour stint. Could be clean your house. It could be clean your car. It could be, hey, just make them dinner.
It's working out so good.
or whatever someone wants, like for a 2-hour gap. Because there was a buy a certain years ago, and people bidded for a fundraiser. It was to raise money for a foundation, and girls bidded on, like 5 guys, 5 girls, and they raised about $4,000 or $5,000. And all they do is, hey, just they're gonna clean your car or just go to dinner. It could have been, I don't know there was just, all it was to raise money. That's all it was. It was a good time. Mine was throw a pie in my face. That didn't go. Yeah, that was at a game.
I will tell you, there is a live auction prize. Now there's other ones too, but there is a live auction prize that you could win a party at my parents' pool in the back with their pool bar, and the entire neighborhood will cook for you and 10 of your friends and entertain everybody at the pool.
Would Keith be cooking?
No,
I would. I will have some role in that. I'm not sure what that role.
He'll hand you your towel as you get out of the pool. It'll be really nice, special.
As Keith's talking, you just see her mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Well, it's all fun and games. It's a good
right.
time. It's good to raise money and have fun at the same time. And I think that's great to see. And I love what you guys are doing in the community. I love what your foundation is doing, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Thank you.
There was one thing I wanted to ask: is there a silent auction item for the MGM Vegas?
That is a live auction item, And yes, it is a complete trip to Vegas. It is the MGM, Cirque tickets to your choice of which Cirque show you want to see, and Spirit airfare, $1,000
Oh
covered.
boy. Oh boy.
So, and it's like a deluxe suites because it's like a step up from like the rooms that we would purchase. And so you'll call and pick your rooms and the availability and stuff.
Well, that's great. And
Yeah.
Is there anything else going on that evening that's like a surprise that you can let us know?
Boy, well, I've been selling Keith, which was a big
Yeah,
surprise
that's
to
a
all
big
of us.
surprise. I didn't know that. We're really going to see how generous people are that night. If I'm one of the
There's a
prize.
hot tub. There's Ohio State tickets. The Browns package actually has 6 tickets on the 50-yard line, 12 rows up from the visitor side. It's pretty amazing.
with a limo bus from Fab Limo in that package.
So
4 Cavs tickets, 4 Notre Dame tickets. I mean, we have a lot of tickets.
yeah, I get it. Date and time of the event again?
March 19th, and the doors open at 5:30. Saturday, March 19th.
There you go. And your website for anyone to go and purchase tickets?
The website's long. You'd have to go. It's easy to click on it through our Facebook page, or our actual foundation website has it on. So if you just Google the Melina Michelle Edenfield Foundation,
Or I can give it, which is mmefoundationjoy.org.
Okay.
And then click on the events page. It'll be there.
yeah, the link to get the tickets for.
So Google Earth Foundation, all the information will be there. We appreciate you guys coming on. I hope you guys have enjoyed your time.
Very much. Thank you
so much.
So at the end of each show, I like to have some fun with my participants. Are you up for a little fun?
Absolutely.
Okay. I got 5 questions. I like to just have fun with them. The answer could be yourself, personal, professional. There's no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
Unless Keith looks at you and you look at Keith, I've had that before. First question, what are your best accomplishments? Best accomplishments. It could be together or individually.
Honestly, I think our greatest accomplishment together is the fact that our family has gone through what we would consider the most horrific loss that in life shouldn't happen. And the strength of our girls, the way that Clara and Emilia continue on with their sister's spirit. 80% of people go through a divorce after the loss of a child. And I get it. Keith and I grieve very differently. Not in a bad way, it's just we're different people. And the fact that I feel safest when the 4 of us are together, that's my happiness and my peace. That's my greatest accomplishment is my family.
I would agree. Just not necessarily to that depth, but or I shouldn't say not to that depth, but along those lines, the way I would say it is, it's a pain. Like you said at the beginning, you couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine it either until we went through it. And the 4 of us as a family, it hasn't broken us. It hasn't broken us individually or as a family, and I'm extremely proud of that.
Now, Keith's lack of household skills might break us, but not this.
Oh, no comment. What's your best memory? Tough hitting questions, aren't they?
Yeah.
Hey, where's the fun?
This is so maybe I should reword it. This is fun for me and the viewers.
Go ahead, I'll let you go first.
No, go ahead.
I would say one of the best memories was the 3 of them together. The 3 of them, we had one shot and nothing. Even if Melina were still alive, it would have been the only shot where all 3 of them could be on the same T-ball team. And so I was the coach, and I got to coach all 3 of them together at one time on the same team. And like I said, even if the path was different, there were a lot of good memories in that time.
Yeah, and I think the best part about that was a good friend of mine. That team was really special because the children on that team, the parents, we played softball together growing up, and
Okay.
our dads were the coaches, and now here our husbands are the coaches for our children. And what happened was Melina was too young to be on the team, and they took her to practice. And I said, please just don't let her get in the way. Like, I don't want to be like those people. Like, and they come home and they're like, oh yeah, top 6 kid on the team. I'm like, who? And they're like, Melina. Well, our friend's husband went home and he said, Shan, oh, that Edenfield girl's really good. And she assumed that he meant our oldest. So she came to the first game, and there's our Melina in the uniform that did not fit because she was so small, because she was only 2.5, barely 3. And like, the helmet didn't fit over her head. So when she ran the bases, she couldn't see. And so my friend looks at me and she's like, did you just have to show me up? Because my kid's over here in a diaper still drinking a bottle, and yours is out there running the bases. And I was like, Melina makes us look good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I swear, the child never saw a base, but man, she ran faster. I don't know where she was going, but she went in the direction.
The great stories of our kids.
You had to point her and hope she got there. Right?
Exactly. Oh, I'm laughing. I'm having a heart. What's your best experience?
You know what? I will say that I don't know if this is my best experience, but in the last 2.5 years, or last 2 years, Melina, it's been 18 months, which I hate to even think about, but in that time frame, this has been the worst 2 years for a lot of people. There's been a lot of fighting, there's been a lot of this and that, and people, there's a lot of negativity, and to watch and experience and live the good. I mean, just the things that people have said or done for us, or the things like the stories that people share. I mean, the amount of Cheeto stuff people like send me pictures of, they're like, look, there's Melina. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my child's legacy. It's leopard print. Like, and it's like, that is just so amazing. I mean, to think it's our first year holding a semi-formal event post like a surge of COVID, and to think we only have less than 100 tickets left. I mean, that's crazy. That's just crazy to see the good in this world. And that experience, I mean, as horrific as, but I kind of separate the two things, that this is our Melina, and it's just amazing to know the good in people.
I think for me, I go back to the Choose Joy event that was on the green this summer. Like Michelle said earlier, the Joy team, which was her sisters and the other kids in the neighborhood, who obviously they're very invested in that event. The kid, they think they actually put that event on. The moms keep that a good secret from them, and they do. But
they do.
The investment level that they have, because that was their sister, that was their best friend. To when we were setting up for the event that morning, there was a car that drove past, and it was somebody stopped and asked me if it was a birthday party, and I said no, and I kind of explained what it was, and they said, well, how much is it to do it? I said, it's free. We want you to come enjoy the day. And they ended up coming, not even knowing what it was, but and so seeing the kids come to the green that maybe didn't even know what it was for, all the way up to, like I said, our girls and the other kids in the neighborhood, and every other distance to the relationship in between on that spectrum, and just seeing all the kids have fun, and just knowing that that's what Melina would want. Knowing that Melina in spirit was right there with them.
Okay. Role models. Who would be your role models?
My mom.
Okay.
My mom is an amazing human being. She's been through a lot, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without her. There's no doubt. No questions asked.
Keith?
This answer for me over my life would have changed a lot, but right now, in this moment with this question, I would say her.
Okay. And the last hard-hitting question is, so if you wanted to meet one person, past or present, could be anyone, who would it be and why?
I think most people would expect us to say Melina. But I have an angel on earth, is what I call her. She is a woman who lost her son over 20 years ago. And I said to her one day, I just wish for 5 more minutes, or I just wish I could have lunch with her one more time, or I just wish I could have Starbucks or Target.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, no, you don't. And I looked at her, I'm like, yeah, I do. And she's like, no, because you could never say goodbye again. And she's right. I couldn't. So I don't know who'd be fun for lunch. Let's make it good.
Yeah, well, who are you thinking? I mean, you're the
Mental health counselor.
More adventurous of the two sometimes. Who do you got in mind?
Past or present, like I said, they don't have to be alive. It could have been someone that I've had people pick presidents. I've had people pick past.
I would go with my Poppy.
Okay.
I grew up with a Poppy, and my daughters call my dad Poppy after him. And he used to play chicken in the car driving down the street with me in the back seat. Yeah. And I thought it was the greatest game ever. And he was 80 and he came home and I told my parents and we never played chicken again. But it was a really good time.
That's good. That's a great story.
It did not go over well, but
Keith?
I don't. Again, this would have evolved, but as I think about it, so much was written about.
You would go to the last state coach?
Huh?
You wouldn't go.
Oh, Woody Hayes?
Yeah.
Maybe Woody Hayes. Yeah, I'll say that. That would have been it for a long time. But what I was going to say more recently, since Melina, who famous wise, who I've thought a lot about, was first President Bush, George H., because I think he lost a daughter to leukemia, child to leukemia. When I think 2 or 3, and I can remember when he passed, there a lot was made. That's really the first time I knew that about him, and just how did he reach the heights that he did. I'm knowing now what that loss feels like.
Totally understand. I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed your time on the show. It was a fun time. Stay on. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this show starting of season 4 of the Edenfield Foundation. You can look them up and Google them for their event coming up in March. We'll be there with you. Maybe. You never know who may show up at that event, or people that will attend, especially the ice cream. I like the ice cream on that part. Yeah. I have a sweet tooth. So if you want more information, upcoming guests, upcoming news, anything else, go to anthonyvspano.com. Thank you for attending, and in our audience, have a great night. Spanning the Need with Anthony Spano. Good night.